Hello students, my name is Samandeep Kaur from the Department of Physics of S. Government College of Science Education and Research. So today I am going to start the lecture series on Nuclear and Particle Physics Part 1, which is the subject for the students of BSc Non-Medical 5th semester. So first of all, we will be briefly look at the syllabus of the Nuclear and Particle Physics. So the syllabus is divided into two parts, Unit 1 and Unit 2. The first unit, it comprises of two parts, that is the general properties of nucleus. In the general properties of nucleus, we will be looking at the various properties of the nucleus. For example, what are the constituents of the nucleus, what are the theories that describe the constituents of the nucleus, then the various intrinsic properties of nucleus, then the mass. We will calculate the mass of the nucleus, its density, the binding energy of the nucleus, then we will look at the angular momentum property, now every nucleus it has an angular momentum, either it can be 0 or some other value. So we will look at this property, and then nucleus also can have spin. So the spin, it comes from the angular momentum itself. And then there will be the last property, that is the magnetic moment. So if there is a spin for any charged particle, then obviously there will be magnetic moment. So we will be calculating the magnetic moment for the nucleus. So these topics we will be covering in the first part of Unit 1, general properties of nucleus. And in the second part, we will be looking at the nuclear models. Now, what are nuclear models? There are mainly two types of nuclear models that are in the syllabus. The first is liquid drop model. Now, the liquid drop model, and second is shell model. So these two models, they will tell us the theory behind how the nucleus has spin, how nucleus has its magnetic moment, how it has angular momentum, and how there is binding energy for the nucleus. That is, these models will explain how the nucleus attains these properties. So in the unit second, there are also two parts. First is radioactivity. In the radioactivity, we will be first of all looking at its introduction, the units in which radioactivity is measured, the radioactive series, then the very important, which is carbon dating. Carbon dating is a technique which is used to find the age of the living species. And then we will be looking at the various decay processes. First is alpha decay. Now alpha particle is a helium nucleus. Helium nucleus is called as alpha particle. That is, if we remove the outer electrons of the helium atom, then the nucleus that will remain behind, that will be called as alpha particle. So alpha particle, it is emitted from the nucleus. So we will look at the process behind it, the theory behind it, and then the second decay is beta decay. Now beta particles can be electrons, that is beta negative decay. It can be positrons, that is beta positive decay. So we will look at how the electron or positrons, they are emitted from the nucleus. And last one is gamma emission. So whenever a nucleus from its excited state, it goes to its ground state or its lower excited state, so then there is an emission of photon, that is gamma photon. Emission of gamma photon, so that is called as gamma decay, and we will look at the various conditions when such decays occur from the nucleus. And the last topic is the nuclear reactions. So nuclear reaction is a process in which a particle is made to hit on the nucleus. Now this particle can be a very small particle like a proton, or it can be a neutron, or it can be alpha particle, or it can be any other small particle, and even it can be a whole nucleus. That is, two nucleus, they are made to bombard on each other, and that also comes under nuclear reactions. So there are various types of nuclear reactions like stripping reaction, then pickup reaction, and there are many more reactions that we will go through in this chapter. And the other term that we will encounter in this chapter is compound nucleus. So we will study the concept of compound nucleus. Now what is compound nucleus? That whenever a particle it hits the nucleus, that is a nuclear reaction occurs. So this nucleus, it absorbs the incoming particle and the energy of the incoming particle. Since the particle, it is moving with a certain velocity and it hits nucleus with a certain velocity, means this particle does have some energy. So this energy, this nucleus, it absorbs this particle, incoming particle, and the energy of the incoming particle is distributed among the constituents of the nucleus. So nucleus, we know that there are protons and neutrons inside the nucleus. So when this particle hits, this particle gets absorbed by the nucleus and the energy of this particle is redistributed among the constituents, and that nucleus, that resultant nucleus, is called as compound nucleus. So we will go in more detail in this chapter. This is just a quick view of the whole syllabus of this semester. So now we will be starting the first chapter. That is, we will be looking at the general properties of the nucleus. First of all, we will look how nucleus was discovered, and the nucleus was discovered in the very famous experiment, that is Rutherford's alpha scattering experiment, or it is also named as Rutherford's gold foil experiment. So in this experiment, Rutherford took alpha particles which were emitted from some nucleus, that is from some radioactive source. These alpha particles, they had particular energy, and these alpha particles were made to hit on a thin gold sheet or thin gold foil. This foil or this sheet was made up of gold atoms. So a thin gold foil was placed and alpha particles were made to hit on this foil with certain energy, and this gold foil was made thin, and this was because so that alpha particles they should encounter very little number of atoms in their path. That is, the alpha particles, they were made to encounter only very less number of atoms in their path. So that's why a thin gold foil was taken. So when the alpha particle, it was made to hit on the atoms of the gold foil, they were scattered in all the directions and were detected by a detector. So most of the alpha particles were seen that they went unscattered. That is, they were not scattered by this collision. And it was seen that some of the alpha particles, they were scattered at acute angles, that is less than 90 degree, and very less alpha particles, they scattered at obtuse angles, that is greater than 90 degree and less than 180 degree, and very few alpha particles, they backscattered, that is at 180 degree they were thrown away by the nucleus of the gold. So these alpha particles, they were scattered in all directions, that is they were scattered in 360 degree 3D in 3 dimension. So these alpha particles need to be detected by a detector. So this is a three-dimensional detector that was placed. So detector was placed. Now what was the need of the detector? Since the alpha particles, they are not visible to us, and we need to find what are the angles at which alpha particles are scattered and how many alpha particles they scatter at a particular angle. So that's why we need to place a detector over here, since alpha particles, they are not visible to us. So this detector was made up of particular material which are called as fluorescent materials, and generally it is zinc sulfide. So what are the properties of fluorescent materials? Whenever an energetic particle, that is a particle with certain energy, it strikes the atoms or molecules of these fluorescent materials, the energy of the incoming particle or the particle that hits such materials, the energy of those particles is transferred to the atoms or the molecules of these materials, and the atoms or those molecules, they absorb that energy of the incoming particle and they go to their excited state, and when they, after some time, they get de-excited in their ground state, they emit visible photons. That is when alpha particles, they were made to hit on the screen, then the energy of the alpha particle was absorbed by the atoms of the detector, and those atoms absorb that energy and they go to the excited state, and when they de-excite after some time, visible photons are emitted which are detected by us. So we can clearly see where the alpha particle has scattered and at what angle alpha particle has scattered. So this is the reason why fluorescent materials are taken as a detector. So what were the observations that were made in this experiment? So the observations were that, first observation was that most of the alpha particles, they were undeviated, that is they passed undeviated, they were not at all scattered. That is, most of the alpha particles, they went unscattered. So most of the alpha particles, they went unscattered. This was the first observation. Second observation was that some of the alpha particles, they scattered at acute angles. So some of the alpha particles, they scattered at acute angles. Third observation was that very less alpha particles were scattered at obtuse angle. Very less alpha particles were scattered at obtuse angle. And last conclusion was that very few alpha particles were unscattered, were backscattered. They were back scattered, that is they were scattered at 180 degree. That is, it was a head-on collision. So these were the observations of the Rutherford's alpha scattering experiment, and from these observations some conclusions were made. So what was the first conclusion? Since from the observation we see that most of the alpha particles, they were undeviated, which means that they were not scattered, which means that the most of the space inside the atom is empty. That is, most of the space inside the atom is empty. Second conclusion, since some of the alpha particles, they were scattered at acute angles and some of the alpha particles, they were scattered at obtuse angles, since they were scattered, that is they changed their path, which means that there is some positively charged body or positively charged mass that is present in the atom. Since alpha particles, they are scattered at acute and obtuse angles, so this can happen only when there is a positively charged particle or positively charged body present inside the atom, because alpha particle, this alpha particle is positively charged. Since it is made up of 2 protons and 2 neutrons, so the charge on the alpha particle is plus 2e. That is, plus E is the charge on a single proton, and neutron, it doesn't have any charge. So total charge on the alpha particle is plus 2e. Since the alpha particles, they were scattered at acute and obtuse angles, which means that there is some positively charged body which is present inside the atom. And last conclusion was that very few alpha particles, they were backscattered. That is, very less number of alpha particles were backscattered, which means that this positively charged body is present in a very minute space, in a very small space inside the atom. That is, positively charged body is present in a very small space inside the atom, and it is concentrated. That is, whole mass is concentrated in a very small space, and this mass was termed as, so this very small space in which positively charged particles were concentrated, it was termed as nucleus. So the next question was, what were the constituents of the nucleus? Because we knew that there are some positively charged particles that are present inside the nucleus, and what else is present with those positively charged particles, it was still a question. And why this question arose was that the positively charged particles, if there are only positively charged particles inside the nucleus, they cannot stay together in such a small space. This is because that positively charged particles, they are so closely packed that due to Coulombic repulsion, they will be repelled and the nucleus should explode. But this doesn't happen. The nucleus does exist, it doesn't collapse. So there are some other particles that are also present with the protons or with the positively charged particles inside the nucleus. So to explain what else was present in the nucleus, 2 main theories were proposed. First was proton electron theory, that is, with positively charged particles, that is proton, there are present electrons, which was rejected. And the other theory was that with the positively charged particles, that is with protons, there are present some neutral particles which are of the same mass as that of the protons, and this was the proton neutron theory. And this